throughout the whole session. So the very first thing we would like you to do is we have went ahead and put in a slide deck in the chat. If you could go ahead and make sure that you sign in through there, you'll notice in the new slide deck, there is multiple places where you can click on a box and put your name. And we'd like you to fill up the very first slide of that before you go on to the next slide. And we have put like 4 slides in case there's up to like 80 people, but we don't want like everyone in like one group, because in a little bit we're going to separate out to groups so that you have time to talk with a smaller group versus this large group of 50 or more. So welcome to a unprecedented year. We are doing our trainings today via virtual since we can't really meet in person, which is wow. I found this one quote from Mary Ann Radmacher, which really kind of resonated with me. It says, "Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow." And I'm just thinking about that with everything that's happening. And we all think, I'm looking at it as this is my first year again. I've had my first year when I first started teaching 21 years ago, but I'm having it again this year. And we're learning all these new things. So what I'd like you guys to go ahead and do is make sure you get that slide deck. And if you could go ahead and sign in. And thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. And then we will be moving on. All right, Liz.
Liz, babe, you're still muted.
Sorry about that, guys. Welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Really grateful to have you with us this morning. We know it's a lot. We know your plates are filled, and we really value you and your time, and we respect that so very much. So thank you guys for being here. Those of you who are just joining, as Tammy said, please refer to slides 3 through 6 on the slide deck. And sign in and make reference of the color because you'll be using that color as we move into our breakout sessions later in our time together. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what we're going to do so you have an idea of how we're going to spend our time together. We're going to review some suggested norms to help create a positive virtual experience together, and I'll be doing that in a minute. And then we are going to share some of the goals that our team had in mind as we developed our agenda for today. That was very important to us, that our time was meaningful and you had value from the day. After reviewing our goals, we will then discuss why building trust in our community is critical, and how we as teacher leaders can work to build trust, community, and community within our schools, especially now. It's just really critical at this time. We will then break off into small groups and explore a protocol that will offer a structure as we continue our discussion on the topic of building trust. While in our small groups, we will access a common Jamboard so that we may document some of our thoughts and our work and ideas and use that as a platform so we can go back and reflect on that. And then finally, we will be sharing and compiling some resources around this topic for your use at a later time or for you to add to. And like I said, we are greatly appreciative of you being here and sharing your time with us. If you're coming in late, there's a slide deck in the chat. Please open that, slides 3 through 6. If you can please sign in on an open spot. We will be using that for our breakout sessions. Okay, if you can move over to the norms. Thanks, Heather. These are just really suggestions to help create a positive virtual experience. And what I like about this, and I know some of you who've been in a training with me before, I've used it before, because I really think in this area of where we find ourselves, mixing the technology and the engagement are so critical. So as far as technology, if we really want to see you and hear from you, I feel like that's how we build connections. So if you can have your video on, we'd really appreciate that. Stay on mute, of course, until you are going to share out. That just helps us with some background noise and keeps things structured. And share all of your questions and comments, concerns, in the chat box, and we're going to do our best to really look at that and help facilitate those discussions. And while we're here, please be present. I know it's hard. We have so much on our minds and our hearts right now, but being present right now will help us build community and ensure that we balance our sharing and listening. We're excited to be here with you guys. So thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mary Kraft, and I wanted to just review a little bit about what we want to touch on today and how we want to spend even through this year of your being a TLF. So we're so happy that you're here and that we are going to work on building this community of TLFs together. We want you to especially focus on the fact that we're here for you. We are all a safety net for each other. So we want to work on that collaboration and our leadership capacity. So that's our first goal. Our next one, like I said, we want to develop this TLN. Some of you were TLFs last year. Some of you are new this year. And we started this work, but we are continuing it. And so as we go, obviously building trust, which is sort of our overall umbrella for today, takes time. We know that it takes up to 5 years to build that trust in the school community. And so we know that this is a work in progress, but we're working on that, and we hope that you'll join us in that journey. The other thing that we want you to do, the other kind of goal that we have for today, is to have you take the information that you learned from us. We are going to work on a protocol that is it's going to have to have some trust among us all, because we're going to make ourselves just a little bit vulnerable. And in doing so, we hope that this is a tool you can maybe take back to your schools and use with your teams. So those are kind of our goals for today. Next slide, Heather. Thank you. So, and Courtney, feel free to jump in anytime on this slide with me. So, as I said, our trust is sort of our word of the day. It's our umbrella that we are looking at. And we're going to look at just a little bit at a video by, she is a research professor at the University of Houston. She's written many books, and her name is Brene Brown. You may have heard her. She's kind of popular lately. But she has sort of 7 principles of trust, and she developed them based on the quote that we have up here on the screen by a fellow named Charles Feltman. He wrote a book called The Thin Book of Trust. And so if you can read that quote, it's really important, right? As I said today, our protocol is going to make us vulnerable in just a little bit as we move forward, as you guys choose a metaphor. And we'll explain about that in a little bit. So as you read this quote, we'd like you to think of a couple questions. Think of a person in your school or in your educational setting that you trust the most. What qualities built that trust? If you could go ahead and just reflect on that for just a few seconds, drop a word in the chat that when you think of that person comes directly to the forefront. We have some awesome words: honesty, dependable, support, collaborative. Another dependable: listens, openness, empathetic, openness and vulnerability, kindness, genuine, understanding, non-judgmental, helpful, honesty, and open-minded. Awesome. Those are great words, and that is definitely the way that we build our trust with each other. All right, next slide, Heather. Thank you. So, Courtney, do you want to jump in, or do you want me to continue?
Sure, I'll jump in. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Courtney Grant, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here today with so many of you. Thank you for the sacrifice you made to be here. We are so grateful. All right, so we're going to watch a short little video from Brene Brown. If you like this video, the full longer version, which is 20 some minutes, is available on our website, and we can put that in the chat for you. Anyhow, this video is all about what is trust, what trust really is, and it has a school site connection. So let's take a watch.
One day, my daughter, Ellen, came home from school. She was in 3rd grade. And the minute we closed the front door, she literally just started sobbing and slid down the door until she was just kind of a heap of crying on the floor. And of course, it scared me. And I said, what's wrong, Ellen? What happened? What happened? And she pulled herself together enough to say, something really hard happened to me today at school, and I shared it with a couple of my friends during recess. And by the time we got back into the classroom, everyone in my class knew what had happened. And they were laughing and pointing at me and calling me names. And it was so bad, and the kids were being so disruptive, that her teacher even had to take marbles out of this marble jar. And the marble jar in the classroom is a jar where if the kids are making great choices together, the teacher adds marbles. If they're making not great choices, the teacher takes out marbles. And if the jar gets filled up, there's a celebration for the class. And so she said, it was one of the worst moments of my life. They were laughing and pointing, and Miss Balkin, my teacher, kept saying, I'm gonna take marbles out, and she didn't know what was happening. And she looked at me, and she just with this face that is just seared into my mind and said, I will never trust anyone again. And my first reaction, to be really honest with you, was damn straight. You don't tell anybody anything but your mama. Yeah, right? That's it. I mean, that was my like, you just tell me. And when you grow up and you go off to school, mama will go too. I'll get a little apartment. And the other thing I was thinking, to be quite honest with you, is I will find out who those kids were. And while I'm not going to beat up a 9-year-old, I know their mamas. That's the place you go to. And I'm like, how am I going to explain trust to this 3rd grader in front of me? So I took a deep breath and I said, Ellen, trust is like a marble jar. She said, what do you mean? And I said, you share those hard stories and those hard things that are happening to you with friends who over time you filled up their marble jar. They've done thing after thing after thing where you're like, I know I can share this with this person. Does that make sense? And that's what Ellen said. Yes, that makes sense.
Hi, YouTube.
All right, so that video really speaks to the importance and the power of trust. And I think as a leader, trust has a double meaning for you, right? Because as a leader, you can not only build trust on an individual level with teachers and with students, but you have the opportunity to help create a culture of trust across your school community. You can help create a climate where people trust that their words and feelings matter, and that they know they'll be valued and protected no matter what. And as a leader, you have the opportunity to influence that. And you can do that by creating space where people listen closely to each other and where personal relationships are really strong. And that makes taking risks seem a little less risky. So today we're going to use a protocol called creating metaphors. And protocols really are a great way to bring a little structure to some time together and also to help focus a conversation. And using this protocol in particular serves a few purposes. And the first one is this is going to help build trust and community between everyone who's participating in it. And that's because it gives an opportunity not only to share a little bit about yourself, but also to practice a deeper level of listening to others. And that listening, that intentional listening, that's that filling that marble jar, right? Every time we show up and listen to someone, truly listen with acceptance and with empathy and with compassion, we are helping to fill their marble jar by knowing they can count on us to do that when they need it. So the second purpose of this protocol is also to allow some time for personal reflection for you as a leader and what some of your best or strongest leadership characteristics are. And then the third purpose for this protocol today is it will help stretch your thinking, because rather than just saying or listing your characteristics, you are going to create a metaphor that represents you when you're at your best as a leader. So you have an opportunity to be a little creative here. We're going to be doing this protocol in small groups today. And with that, I'm going to let Tammy and Heather, they are going to transition us out into small groups where then we'll run the protocol with a slightly smaller bunch.
All right, so reminder, at the very beginning, we had asked you to take on that slide that we keep sharing with you, the Google Slides, to sign in. The first thing I'm letting you guys all know is we're going to be taking all the people who sign into the small groups, we're going to take that information and mark your attendance in PowerSchool. That's just something that we'll have to do. So please make sure you sign in, for one thing, to get the check off on attendance. But the other thing is please sign in, because this is your small groups. We're going to have 4 small groups. So we're looking at, well, it's going to be larger than what anyways. So what I'd like you guys to do is if after you have signed in, you can either go to this slide or the slide where you signed in. And what I'd like you guys to do is click on the name of the group. That will take you, it will give a link, so it will take you to a small group. You will be leaving this large group after that. So you can actually close this, you can mute this, whatever, but you don't need to come back here unless you get lost. Then you can come back and Heather will help you. But again, what you're going to be doing is you need to click on the color to take you to the new small group. You will need something to write with and something to write on, because for the protocol that we'll be doing. And last but not least is at the very end of today or the end of your last session, make sure that you go ahead and submit the feedback, because we can't grow or change or move forward unless we have feedback. We stay stagnant. Heather, did you have anything else?
Nope, sounds good. If you're having any issues, please just stay on here and I'll help you get to where you need to be.
All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and head off to my group, and I hope to see you there.
Okay, Dana, can you tell me what the problem is?
Yeah, when I hit the link that you have, the leadership slide deck participant, and when I hit that link, it goes to a page that's like, it just acts like it doesn't want to load. It's like a Bing page and it just is blank. And it has my credentials, so I know I'm logged in with my APS. I mean, I could share my screen if you want to see how wonky it is, but I don't know. It's weird.
That is very strange. I'll add you another way and we will figure it out that way.
Okay. I had trouble even getting onto this. I don't know if my internet is just being weird or I need to restart my whole computer or what. Sorry.
Okay, so Dana, I just added you the other way. Let me know if that doesn't work.
Okay, let me see. Let me go back.
I'm having problems with my chat, so if anyone else is having problems, can you unmute yourself and let me know what the problem is?
Okay, let me mute myself.
Can you repost the link?
I cannot. I can't do anything with my chat right now. Let me see if I can figure it out.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, that's the wrong link. Any other questions?
My name is Jesse. I came in a couple of minutes late, and I didn't catch the link to sign in, I believe. I was able to follow the link to the PowerPoint.
So that is where you're going to sign in. You're going to sign in on that second page.
Okay, that just has that color, the ones that are color coded?
The ones that are color coded. Yes, yes, sir.
All right.
Mine is still just not working. So, you know what? I might close out and then come back to you in just a second, see if that will work.
Dana, just go ahead and go to this Google Meet that I'm sharing with you right now.
Okay.
Is it okay if I just go to the same one with Dana?
Perfect.
It's still doing the same thing for me. Oh, this Meet. Okay,
So go to that Meet right there. FBP BJK EVG.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry to be a bother.
Bridget, what can I help you with?
Then we're going to come back and we're going to reflect on what could the shadows be with that metaphor.
Okay, so can I say I already had signed up for red and I'm going back, my name's not on there. It just disappeared.
Here you go. This is the red Google Meet. Go ahead and go into that one.
Thank you.
And that's AIDA, is that correct?
ADIA.
ADIA.
And my last name, Corley, Corley.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you get me the link for the yellow breakout, please? I can't get the link for that one. Thank you.
No problem. Catherine, anything I can do for you?
Yeah, so I just pick one of those colors. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting my mic.
Yes, just pick one of the colors. And go in that Google Meet.
Okay. And that with this color that you're showing me is from the email that was sent out this morning?
It is not. It is from this initial sign-in sheet that should have happened easier than it did, but it did not appear to work very nicely. So just pick one of those colors and go into that Google Meet for the second half of the presentation.
Got it. Thanks.
You're very welcome.